Council meeting this Monday, May 26th. Keeping up with our regular schedule, the nicest day of the year so far is a council day with the blinds down. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask that you rise as you're able and join us in singing our national anthem. Yes, the King is going to be in Canada shortly, so I'd like to invite Councillor Greenfield to read our land acknowledgement today.
Thank you. We would like to begin by acknowledging with respect that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash, unceded First Nation, and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis, whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis people and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters.
Thank you, Councillor. And now I'll just ask you to join me in a moment of silent reflection on our business today. Thank you, Mayor. Happy birthday. Sorry to out you on that, Charlie, but let that go. I just wanted to announce that on this Friday, May 30th at 7 p.m., Mutable Arts are going to be having their year-end dance performance. So it's called All About Musical. It's going to be at the Meaford United Church. Just encouraging people to get out and support Georgie and her students who do a great job every year. It's a really great program, dance program we have in town, and it's always a lot of fun. So that's this Friday. And if I may, there is I'm going to give a couple of shout outs to the Meaford and St. Vincent Agricultural Society, who Saturday, May 31st at 8 a.m. at the Meaford Curling Club are going to have a plant sale. So now that it's finally getting to the point we might be able to plant some. But more importantly, the first annual Redneck Games are coming up, which is going to be pretty interesting. Saturday, June 7th from 10 to about 3 at the fairgrounds. They're going to have, it's going to be bale rolling, tug of war, spam carving, toilet seat tossing, all those high level sports. So that's going to be happening Saturday, June 7th. So encouraging you to get out and support those activities as well. Thank you. If I can just add, I'd be very disappointed if our staff wasn't well represented at these challenging games. And I think it would be fitting if council put up a team. I've never thrown a toilet seat, but I have one I'd like to. So, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor Topback following and happy birthday to Councilor Greenfield, that Jim and I are. And also, Mr. Mayor, I have 3 announcements. are both on the same date, June the 14th. Wagner is hosting their third annual Friendship Tea Social. And this is definitely an event not to be missed. Volunteers out there work incredibly hard to make a wonderful day for everyone. There are 3 sittings at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 2 p.m. And you can call 519-372-9771 for tickets, or you can email events, BOGNOR, BognerCC@gmail.com. Also on, we are getting the timing tied down, but it's not quite there yet. But in any event, it's celebrating the ribbon cutting of what we commonly call the Twin Bridge 21 and 22, out also in Wagner, not far from there. We're trying to coordinate so that everything works. So that ribbon cutting ceremony is June the 14th. And my third announcement, you've all will be aware of, and you've heard me speak of, the SOS services out of Grey County, the supportive outreach service. And they're now going to be present 1 day a month in Meaford at our Rotary House. And they are there this afternoon as we speak from 1 until 3 o'clock today. And some of the services that they will provide to our vulnerable individuals here in our own community are wound care, peer supports, harm reduction, education and supplies, vaccinations, housing system navigation, assistance with food and clothing. And again, that's going to be happening. We're getting the date secured, but I believe it's going to be moved to a Thursday to coincide with the hours when the food bank is open. But we're really delighted to have that service coming to Meaford. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Forder.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. And through you, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the tragic loss that has deeply impacted our school community in Grey Bruce. On Friday, 4 secondary students and 1 teacher from Walkerton District Community School lost their lives in a devastating accident. This tragedy has shaken the entire region, and on behalf of the municipality of Meaford, I extend our deepest sympathies to the families, friends, staff, students, and the broader community of Walkerton, Brockton, and beyond. There are no words that can truly ease the pain of such a sudden loss, but in this time of sorrow, we hope that those affected find strength in each other and comfort in the support that surrounds them. Thank you.
a.m.
One more. Come into spring and summer, paper starts ramping up. Lots of things happening. Out at our own Woodford Hall, the Meaford Theatre Company, actually next weekend, or the following weekend, June 6th, June 7th, and June 8th, they're going to be performing the Little Luncheonette of Terror, which is a youth play musical. Meaford Theatre Company does a really good program of encouraging participation with youth in theater, and that show is going to be those 3 days. And encourage people to get out and support that as well.
Push you on the other side. Move on to public participation. Members of the public are encouraged to provide council with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with legislative services before the agenda is released and will be limited to 10 minutes. If a member of the public wishes to make a deputation on items on the council agenda or to ask a public question of council, they may do so either in person at the chambers here or remotely via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation or to ask a public question must register in advance with legislative services by 10 in the morning on the
Day of. And you can do that by contacting clerk@meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060, extension 1100. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. Deputations are limited to 5 minutes and public questions to 2 minutes. And a reminder, the public can watch this meeting live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel, www.meaford.ca/YouTube. And we do have a couple of presentations today. And first, I'll call to the podium Jonathan Cobb. This is a presentation on managing speed in Bogner, and it's been rescheduled from May the 12th. Can we turn his microphone on, please?
Very much. Afternoon. Harley. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jonathan Cobb. I live in the nice little hamlet of Bogner. I'm sure most of you have been out to Bogner once or twice, and it's pretty very nice country, and it's very quick to go through. I'm here today to get council support on getting a radar powered, solar powered radar speed sign in Bogner. If any of you don't know, Bogner has a beautiful community center that has just been newly redone within the last couple of years, and it's become a very, very busy hall. We get a lot of public events going on there. The Mennonites use it, family reunions, a lot of different things. And directly across the road from it is a really nice little park that is also brand new. Well, it's an old park that's been redone. A lot of new slides, that sort of thing, and swings, and there's a nice little picnic area. So the whole area also gets used quite a bit. Problem is County Road 29 goes right between the two of them. So you've got a Meaford entity, and County Road 29 down through the middle. If you've ever been out to Bogner, if you're coming into Bogner from the south, you're coming down a very big steep hill. Cars hit the flat at the top, they come down over the steep hill, and although it's 50 kilometers an hour coming through town, most people don't do 50 kilometers an hour. If you're coming from the north into Bogner, you're coming along a flat stretch, and the first thing you see if you're coming through Bogner is a big steep hill ahead of you, and traffic tends to pick up speed going through Bogner to make it up the big hill. It's trucks, farming equipment, log trucks, whatever. So there's nothing in Bogner itself to slow people down. Either end of town, there's a slow down sign, but I mean, people see that and they're speeding by that point, and nothing much really gets done that way. If you've ever been to the hall in Bogner, you'll notice that there's very, very little parking. So what people are tending to do is we have fairly big wide paved shoulders in Bogner, and people, if they're coming to an event, they park on the paved shoulders. Looking out of the hall, young kids, you see across the street, they have a nice park. They want to run back and forth. They're darting out between parked cars because there's no crosswalk there or no speed signs or anything else. What I'm looking for is council support in getting a speed, sort of like when you go through Kimberley, you have that flashing sign that says slow down, you're going too fast, whatever, like the radar operator ones. I'd like to see a couple of those put in Bogner just to slow people down. Crosswalk would be nice, but at least a couple speed signs anyways. Just see what's there. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much, Dawn, for being here today. I know that's been on your mind for a number of years. I will ask for input from staff and county road here. On the Bogner property. On county road. County. On make sure county is near my brick.
Directly across the hall, there's a big light post. So one could be mounted on there, one across the road. Here's the Bogner sign is. Not the hall itself. Both are signs doing. Thank you very much. Also going to call on next presenter, Doug Haslund.
Who's the chair of our Pump Storage Advisory Committee. Welcome to Council, Doug.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Doug Haslam, and I am a member and chair of the Pump Storage Advisory Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to update Council regarding the committee's activity. PSAC is made up of 9 resident members, with Deputy Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Greenfield being non-voting committee members. I've certainly appreciated the support of Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Greenfield as we learn how a municipal committee works. The Pump Storage Advisory Committee was formed to serve as an advisory body evaluating and reporting to Council on matters pertaining to the proposed TCE Ontario Pump Storage Project. The committee is not evaluating the need for energy storage. We are not evaluating the arguments for or against the project. We are focused on the potential benefits for the municipality of Meaford, together with understanding what the potential challenges are. May 9th was our 1-year anniversary of the PSAC formation. PSAC had 7 meetings in 2024, May through November. We've now met 3 times in 2025. In full disclosure, it seemed like a slow start, followed by a 3-month pause for the committee. But we've gained significant traction of late. We had important training on the code of conduct, media training, and education about running a meeting and the role of the chair. We've also had presentations from TC Energy, Save Georgian Bay, the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, CanSIA, and the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. We've had several deputations and presentations. In August, TCE took the committee through an overview of the project and answered some general questions. We have established a mechanism for the committee members to ask questions of TCE and share their response. TCE's representatives have been present at most committee meetings and open to us asking questions of them. It's fair to say, however, that the committee has many unanswered questions, and we look forward to their next presentation. In October, Save Georgian Bay presented their perspectives on the project and their concerns. They also offered a framework for evaluating project risks and shared a detailed document outlining significant issues with the proposed project. In November, we had a presentation focused on noise as a contaminant. Also in November, the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada presented their process and available resources. The committee learned that the federal assessment is proponent-driven and narrowly focused on those impacts under federal jurisdiction. This is important. For instance, the impact assessment focuses on the impact on Indigenous health, but not on overall human health. It's a significant learning that assessment is narrow in its focus. With the municipality's support for the project being conditional on the environmental and impact assessments, it's unclear now, especially with the potential of Bill 5, if those assessments will be as thorough as Council first believed. In March, the Canadian Centre for Economic Analysis, or CanSIA, provided an overview of their April 2024 report, widely referenced in support of the project. They shared the methodology used and explained their model. The report is sponsored research, and it's intended to provide support for this project at a provincial level, and it does not evaluate in any great detail the impacts or benefits locally. It's a provincial scaled report. Save Georgian Bay presented a rebuttal that highlighted potentially misleading aspects of the report and called into question whether there are indeed meaningful local benefits. In 2022, TCE offered the municipality a draft community benefits framework that outlined $1.5 million annually as a tax equity payment. The committee is not aware of any other discussions, but for scale, $1.5 million is what the committee is aware of for the benefits so far. Late January, the Ontario government announced $285 million for pre-development work. The committee is eager to understand from TCE what the planned use of the money is and what the timeline of the work currently looks like. We are anxious to understand what portion of this money should be directed toward the municipality for project and project-related activities. Committee provided feedback and questions concerning the proposed community benefit agreement bylaw. There was good discussion during the meeting related to that. Committee has now sent 2 motions to council for consideration. First is focused on getting water testing underway to understand the current state of water quality related to PFAS, dioxins, and other contaminants known or likely to exist at 4th Canadian Training Center. The second is focused on getting a report to clarify what the standards are and who enforces them for noise, air quality, water pollution, soil contamination, and water turbidity impacts. The committee is eager to re-engage with a consulting firm that will assist us in driving action. We need help in formulating an action plan, implementing it, and then evaluating it. Our May meeting, it was agreed that with the guidance of CAO Sean Everett, that the committee would create a working group to revise the terms of reference to add clarity. It's been a year and we just want to sanity check it. The committee is very interested in the municipality acquiring the ability for remote participation at committee meetings. This is important for the committee members to ensure that as many of us can be available to those meetings as possible. My last comment is about public engagement. A core purpose of the PSAC is to foster meaningful community engagement. We've worked to facilitate public participation at our meetings, but we still have lots of work to do. I again invite residents to participate in the committee's work by sharing your views and help us provide community-based recommendations to council.
Deputations on agenda items nor any public questions. So I'll move on to council inquiries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I do have 2 today. First of all, I want to acknowledge residents, volunteers in our community who have taken upon themselves to clean up our downtown core. You've seen people on the streets if you've been out and about, and they're weeding and they're sweeping and they're getting our downtown spick and span. We appreciate the street sweeping that's been done and the sidewalks have been swept, but now we've got a group of very eager volunteers who have been out there putting on those finishing touches. So what my question is revolves around how are we going to maintain this? Because we can't expect volunteers to be out there weeding all summer long. So I just want to ask about, what level of service we see connected with that this year. I know last year we were very, very late in the year getting any spraying done. And so I just want to understand what the approach is going to be this year to deal with downtown weeds, because we do not want them to get unsightly as they have been in the past. So I'll direct that question either to our Director Wiley or to our CAO.
So if we remember, weed spraying was actually an enhancement to our levels of service last year, which I believe was part of the 150, which is why it happened so late, was because it isn't generally something that we have included in a work plan or budgeted for previously. It does sometimes get confused because we do rural weed spraying, which was something else that was introduced probably about 2 years ago now, I want to say. And it is a level of service that is annual. So this year through budget, it was approved to include downtown hard surface weed spraying is the best way to describe that as part of our levels of service for this year. That's why no one's seen it before, is it hasn't been anything that we've approved or has been part of our work plan. But it will take place this year as part of the same contract for our rural weed spraying. That is scheduled to start the end of this month, which is by the end of this week, and then it will take place shortly thereafter. It's the same company, so they're doing both. And I looked back through our information for budget and it is only one application. So we'll have to remember that if we want it to happen more than that, it would be a change to the existing level of service for that. So
Follow-up there. Once it's not going to be enough, so I'm hearing you suggest, I believe, Jessica, that a motion needs to come forward that we have a discussion about increasing that level of service so that the downtown weed spraying is done on a more regular basis.
I apologize. I don't think I'm suggesting anything. I'm just providing information. We have a contract now with this company. So, and the contract was based on what was approved through the budget, which was for one application. I think it's for the whole 23 kilometers of our sidewalk network. So it will be everywhere. Whereas last year, I think it was just like a defined downtown core location. So that is up to yourselves as to whether you want to change the existing level of service.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for that, Jessica. I appreciate that. So we'll give that consideration. And my second question in relation to the presentation we just heard from Mr. Cobb would involve the potential for putting speed monitoring signs involved there. Whether you have any thoughts on if or how we could make that happen. Through the chair, I actually already did something about that, but it was noted and it is a fair. So you will reach out to council. That Jessica, and also considering the suggestion of putting the signs right at Faulkner Hall, is that something that we could undertake right now? So through the chair, and I apologize because I haven't put a lot of thought to it until the presentation. Obviously, I think they're the same as the ones that we have on the Street code, and they do based on what they think that their radar system. They need to place in certain locations at the coming, so it's not as easy as wherever you want to set it. So I think that's to say that we need to have that. But we will definitely do that. Bell?
We recognize that volunteers are community, but a few years of the situation, okay, so it's, they were just doing things. However, it came to attention that there were some safety issues. It wasn't a really difficult thing. It wasn't that this was small work to make it work. In particular, there was a background education format. Should you discover something that could not touch? What do you do with this item that you have seen, and how do we take care of that? So it went from just the good-hearted, I'd like to get out there scratching and digging, to there needs to be just a little bit of, when you're there, we would like to know who you are, not turn you away, but to help you and to educate you and to make a good thing even better.
So I think that we could possibly look at that if that is something which is going to transpire. Because I think they did it at the Meaford and St. Vincent Community Center, and I see someone nodding, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Um, you're completely right, and I'll start to talk about the course that you mentioned. If there are on property, right, for the best part of it, like it's in place for exactly. If you find things like should, even my understanding might be that some folks are guards that, at the entrance, along side, so, we would definitely want to but there. So I would suggest that, piece that is for our organized plan. You're happy to have them, but I think it's that it would.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a technical glitch right now. Apparently, we have no sound on the live stream, so we may have to pause to get that. Yeah, okay. So let's, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, if we can pause until we can get that sound onto the live stream.
Okay, sure. Staff doing this, and I thought, boy, they really are serious about pitching in and wanting to be part of the solution. And we're very fortunate. I echo the deputy mayor's comment that we appreciate the work that people are doing to try and spruce up. And I think we did a pretty good job for our 150th last year, but there's more to be done, and so I think we need to keep on it. And I appreciate I think we do need to discuss what level of service we're really looking for here. So.
Thank you. So test 1, 2, 3, testing microphone, just leave it unmuted for now. You're seeing signal on Zoom. Okay, so I'm just
Calling our meeting to order again. We had a technical problem, which as a result, we decided to do our closed session during the repairs. And so we've just exited that closed session and reporting out on it. I would say that we received item A for information, and items B and C direction was provided to staff. So now I'm going back on the agenda to item 9, our consent agenda, and there's only one item there. The recommendation being that Council of the Municipality direct staff to make applications to the following provincial ministries for delegations at the 2025 AMO Conference. Number 1, Ministry of Infrastructure, A, future funding opportunities for wastewater treatment expansion that is required to support growth and the building of new homes and developments that provide community benefit. And B, Hydro Ontario delays to municipal infrastructure projects. Item 2, Ministry of Health, A, the creation of a localized family health team. 3, Ministry of Transportation, A, entrance permits and delays to development. 4 is the Ministry of Finance. Item A, development charges for healthcare. And item 5, Ministry of Energy. Item A, Trans-Canada Energy Project. I need a mover and a seconder for this, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Uhrig. Any discussion? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is critically important that we have audience, and so we're moving in the right direction to do so. We need to take every opportunity to voice our position and let them know the best we can the needs that we have, which are not peculiar to, every other municipality in Ontario. But this is the format to do it, so I fully support this.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate your comments, Councillor Bell, and completely agree. And we recognize we won't get all of these requests, but we won't get anything if we don't ask. So I would like to ask for council's consideration to add one more, and that would be to the Ministry of the Environment, recognizing that we now have Bill 5 in the legislature, and that the impacts of that could be significant if we're thinking about the TC Energy project in particular. Right now, we don't have complete clarity on Bill 5, but it is past the comment period. But I would like us to give consideration to also adding that request to the Ministry of the Environment.
The seconder for that, Councillor Bell. Any discussion? Councillor Greenfield?
Thanks, Your Worship, and again, it's a lengthy list, but they're all very, very important, very crucial. Certainly, I do agree with the addition. I just had one question about number 4, the development charges for healthcare, and I'm 100% in favor of healthcare being on that development charges list. I'm just wondering, did we have any idea of kind of an either or situation? Like, did you want to? What was there one of the items that development charges can be used for? Were you thinking about removing one of them and putting in healthcare, or was it just to add healthcare to the list? Or have you got that far? Yeah.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the question, Councillor Greenfield. No, in my mind, in recognizing that development charges are being discussed as we speak, and there's likely to be changes coming forward in that act. And I know this one's a stretch, but again, in my mind, I do believe that developers are somewhat responsible for the position that we're in terms of our lack of family physicians. And it would be my hope that through this process, we could just ask the ministry to consider adding a component to DC charges that would go towards healthcare. And in my mind, again, doctor recruitment specifically. So I know it's a stretch, but we'll never make any progress if we don't put the idea out there.
Don't see any more hands up. Are you ready to vote on this? All in favor? Thank you. So we've added that. Have we, Madam Clerk? Okay.
Thank you. We've added the amendment. We will have to vote on the main motion.
Right on. Okay, so we have approved the amendment and then I don't think I need to repeat the motion. It's fairly lengthy. All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Thank you very much. Carried unanimously. Item 9, items for consideration. First of all, a reconsideration motion on the Apple Pie Trail funding. The recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford direct staff to fund the municipality's Apple Pie Trail membership in the amount of $2,000 from the Economic Development Reserve Fund. Mover and a seconder for this, Councillor Forder and Councillor Urick. Any discussion? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think I mentioned when Councillor Urick brought this forward for our consideration today, that during our budget time, everybody was looking to save some money. And just by the way things go in my life, we have a service club that meets at the Meaford Hall downstairs, and I happen to go past the room that's got all the information about all the things that go on. And all the information is still there for the Apple Pie Trail. So I can fully support bringing this back, and it's said where we're going to find our money to support that. So I can support this, and thank you for bringing this forward, Councillor Urick.
Any further comments? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously as well. Item C, the recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, receive the public comment matrix for information, and 2, direct staff to schedule a public meeting on Monday, June 16th, 2025, to present the Community Benefits Agreement bylaw. Have I missed something?
My apologies. I think we've just skipped B.
I think we did too, and I don't know why I checked it off. So I'll go back to B, sorry. The recommendation is, be it resolved that bylaw 2025-29, being a bylaw to provide for the adoption of the 2025 tax rates, establish the due dates, and to further provide for penalty and interest in default of payment thereof for 2025, be taken as read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed. Mover and seconder, Councillor Greenfield and Councillor Porter. Discussion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Now, item C, the recommendation that the Municipality of Meaford, 1, receive the public comment matrix for information, and 2, direct staff to schedule a public meeting on Monday, June 16th, 2025, to present the Community Benefits Agreement bylaw. Mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Greenfield. Discussion on this item. Everybody satisfied? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously as well. Item D, zoning bylaw amendment. The recommendation that the Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, support the request for a red line revision to draft plan approval to the County of Grey, subject to the conditions contained in Report Development 2025-12. And 2, enact zoning bylaw amendment 2025-30 for the lands known as parts of lots 4 and 14, Judges Plan 541. A mover and a seconder. Sorry, Councillor Urick and Councillor Bartley. Thank you. Discussion on this item. I think everybody's very familiar with it and much in favor, all in favor, and that is carried unanimously. Item E, the recommendation is that the Municipality of Meaford approve, 1, the award of tender ITT 2025-06, 2025, high-class bituminous rehabilitation to Cox Construction Limited for $508,670.58, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST. 2, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Forder and Councillor Bell, thank you. Discussion on this item. Deputy Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, just one question, if I may. Aiken Street, would I be correct in assuming then that we'll keep one lane open for traffic? Or will it really take very long at all that we would need to be concerned about keeping a lane open?
Through the mayor, we will work with the contractor for sure to make sure that traffic flow on Aiken continues. We recognize that it is heavily used in the summertime, given the end location on the road there. So I can't say that it might not be closed temporarily for at no time period possible, but they are very aware that that is a heavily used section of road and will do everything they can to keep everything moving.
You could detour on Eliza and Richmond, you know, I mean, it's not impossible. But anyway, I think that that's Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on this here one and the next one, is there any rhyme or reason for the costing difference compared to budget?
Through the chair, great question, because usually it's the opposite problem. This is the first year since, I would say, COVID, honestly, that we have seen the decline in construction costs. I think the big, and we're still budgeting based on how the last year's projects have been, because we've kind of been wrong in the opposite direction. But we were discussing this earlier today, just that we really have seen a decrease in cost when it comes to a surface. So whether it's LCB or asphalt, we've seen a much lower cost than anticipated. Culverts are also the other item that we were surprised at pricing on. So that's why, and we are seeing it as a positive, but it's just an industry change at the moment.
Thank you. I've seen it on county, different things, ours, other townships. I guess the contractors have pulled their horns in. I wish the grocery store people would too.
Too bad you don't have any influence anymore. Okay, did we vote there yet?
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for the vote? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And item F is the recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve approval of the award of tender ITT-TS-2025-05, low-class bituminous rehabilitation to Walker Construction Limited for $825,726.08, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST, and to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. Mover and a seconder. Okay, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Greenfield. Discussion on this one. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my concern here, we recognize, we're all fully aware of the challenges we're facing out on Bayshore Road in Annan and Leith. And if this is the same contractor, are we concerned that we could run into similar unfortunate circumstances? So my question then becomes, do we have, or could we have any penalties built into the contract with Walker to make sure that we keep them on their toes?
Through the chair, I don't think I'm going to get into vendor work experience at the moment. But what I will say is that our contracts are very clear on expectations, and we will continue to administer them as such.
Any other questions? If you're ready, go ahead, Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. Not a question, just a comment. If we go back to our last council meeting and the award of the tender at the town line, the mutual town line between our municipality and Grey Highlands, and these two tenders, to me, it was interesting that we've got three different companies. Was Miller's up at the town line. We've got Cox for one here and Walker for another. And I think that's a good sign. We've got companies that are interested in competing on tenders in our municipality. I think that's a healthy sign for our municipality. So hopefully all of these pan out well and they all get completed before it's too late in the fall. But certainly got the ones on the 11th line for those three concessions are in very bad shape, and I'm so glad to.
Director Wiley, did you have a comment there?
Through the chair, we had a similar, I'm glad you mentioned it actually, and Cox Construction this is our first time working with them. So it's great to see other companies coming up into our neighborhood for sure. So thanks for mentioning that.
Can I inquire, like I think we've been 3 years trying to get Bayshore Road finished, or started and finished. Are we finished?
Through the chair, we are not, but we just signed the paperwork with Hydro to get the replacements done. So like things are moving just at a slower rate than anyone would like.
Thank you for that. Okay, are you ready to vote? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously as well. Now I need a motion to move into committee of the whole. Councillor Porter and Councillor Yurick, all in favor? And the first item there, it's yes, the Chief Administrative Officer's report on strong mayor's powers. The recommendation that Committee of the Whole receive report CAO 2025-13 strong mayor powers implementation update for information purposes. Mover and a seconder, Councillor Bartley and Councillor Greenfield. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to CAO effort.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This report has been brought forward, and I have to thank our acting clerk for putting this report together. The purposes of this is there's been so much information and in regarding to the strong mayor powers. Our acting clerk has done a fantastic job putting together sort of the overview of what we know to date of strong mayor powers, and it's not the first report that has been brought forward, and it won't be the last. But really, with council's indulgence and with the benefit of council having this report in advance, really just open it up to the discussion to council if there's any questions that you have. We also the acting clerk is here as well to provide any additional information. But I think it really is the purpose of this is just to really get the information out to council, and we all know that you're fully aware of it. I think there's a lot of information that the public can garner from this report as well about what these strong mayor powers entail. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, it seems these strong mayor powers are not something you can just brush off your coat or anything. It's they seem to stick. Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And for educational purposes, I don't know who's going to answer this. So the way I understand it, many municipalities are through bylaw handing the powers back to council. Is that correct? Or trying? And if they do, the way I read this, the mayor can change that with one, open his mouth once and change the bylaw. Is that correct?
Through your worship, yes, that's correct that a change can occur at any point through the mayor's exercise of the powers. It's not actually by bylaw. There are two different ways that the powers, and only some of the powers, can be changed from the strong mayor legislation. A directive or a decision can be issued by the mayor. And so this report I hope to convey in this report the areas that the mayor can delegate those powers back to council. There are a few of them. And a directive can be used to change. Really, that's how municipalities are dealing with the budget, because that's not something that actually the mayor is allowed to delegate back to council, but the mayor can issue a directive on how it is dealt with, if that makes sense. But at any time, should it be the wish of the mayor, those directives and decisions can be revoked or changed, edited, whatever is the wish of the mayor.
Like, for instance, the mayor could decide the budget in 30 seconds and have no deliberations with council.
Through your worship, the budget is a tricky one to untangle, and I hope to bring another report forward specifically when we have a little bit of information, a little bit more information. There is a veto process where council has a little bit of control through the budget process. So initially the mayor can bring forward a mayor's budget, and it's no longer staff's and council's budget. It is exclusively the mayor's budget, working with staff or without. And from there, council has some input through amendments. Those can be vetoed. You can veto the veto, and there is so much to it that I think it's probably a separate discussion for a different report. In conversations with our mayor, he's been indicating that he would like to, where possible, revert back to the process that our council has previously undertaken for the budget. Again, it doesn't mean that that's set in stone. It's the mayor's prerogative to make changes at any time, but the intention, and through this report, we've indicated that his intention is to bring a directive on how to proceed preparing the budget as it has been done in the past. So I'm not sure if that fully answers the question, but there are some flow charts that might help explain the whole budget process should we not have a directive from the mayor. It's quite complicated the way that the legislation is written, and I think it belongs almost in a separate report to really give council the content from that, if that makes sense.
Thank you. The waters are muddied. I'm not worried about Meaford. I'm not worried about our mayor. I'm worried about the rest of Ontario. This could really be a quagmire. This could really be the worst thing that's ever happened to the democratic process.
I certainly agree with what you're saying, and I want to thank Clerk Wilton Siegel for the work that she's poured into this. I had no idea that this really is not something that we can just fluff off. It is a bit draconian in my mind, the way this legislation is working. And I can see where they're trying to, speed up building houses. But, I think they should be looking at MTO and Ontario Hydro to speed up building houses, not, mayors necessarily. Anyway, that's my opinion. Are there other comments or questions at this point? Thank you for the report. There's a lot more. We had about a 2-hour session last week, and that was a lot to digest. And I'm quite certain that there will be a lot to sort out as we move forward. It's quite complex, to say the least. But I think that first of all, we have a staff that is very interested in the status of democracy in the municipality of Meaford, and a mayor that feels the same way. So, if there's, are you ready to vote on this report? There will be more, I'm sure. All in favor of accepting it? Thank you very much. That's carried unanimously. The next item here is the recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford, number 1, approve the award of Proposal Finances 2024-01 replacement for financial software to MNP Digital Inc. and for $433,471.55, including optional items and the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST. 2, authorize the treasurer to transfer an additional $33,471.55, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST from the IT reserve. And number 3, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. A mover and a seconder for this. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Urick, thank you. Discussion on this motion. Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, the annual licensing cost with a 5% increase year over year, I see there's 5 years in total, but what happens on year 6? Is this in perpetuity? Does it go 5% up every single year, or does it cap at 5 years? I'm just curious. It's not very clear.
Through you, Mayor Kentner, to Councillor Forder, we had only asked for a 5-year contract. We can follow up with them if you would like to find out. I would assume it's probably another 5% in perpetuity, but we can follow up with that if you'd like.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is really good news. I know that Treasurer Manning has been waiting on this for a very long time, so I'm really delighted that you're finally able to go ahead and secure your new software. So somewhat like Councillor Forder, I was thinking our current software we've had for 20 years. I mean, is there kind of a life expectancy for a software of this type? I'm sure not 20, but what do we think?
Through you, Mayor Kentner, to Deputy Mayor, Gibney. This software is a cloud-based software, so, it's through MNP, but it's, I think it's Business Central and Just, I think it's called, for the tax and the utilities. So I would think it's going to kind of move with what's going on because we're cloud-based, not like our software currently is installed on all of our desktops. And it has to be updated through everybody's. I know that IT currently has switched it to now just working off a remote, but it is like it's dated. So I think this will be better and it should kind of grow with us because we can add additional parts to it.
Councillor Euring?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I agree. When it's, this kind of program is different than a standalone, sits in your computer and gets old really quickly, and this will be updated regularly. I guess my only question is, once this is okay, what is the time frame of actually implementation?
Well, that's a discussion that, that's a discussion that we're gonna have to have with MNP, but hopefully as soon as possible. So summertime we would start, but we'd have to clean up a lot of our data first.
Well, did they give you an idea? I haven't gone through a couple of kind of massive software updates like this in the past. I mean, like it can be 6 months to a year really to kind of do it. Have they given kind of an estimate as to what they think the transition time is?
Through you, Mayor Kentner, to Councillor Dierig, I would say it's an 18-month process, probably. And with that comes payroll and comes the other stuff. We would start with our financial software first, and then whatever happens after that. There is a plan, and we do have a group working inside now, trying to plan out what that is going to happen.
I've never heard of it being a cakewalk. Councillor Forder?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, and through you, just a comment and a question. So when we were looking at the licensing increase year over year, we don't spend this kind of money to have something that's only going to last 5 years. So it's reasonable to expect if we have this for 10 years, we'll be paying $100,000 a year in licensing fees for this software, which I think the software is great and I see the value, but that is a lot. So that's something that we're going to have to think about how we manage that. Anyway, that's my comment. My question is, the new citizen portal that comes with this software, I think is very interesting, but I'm just curious to know, how will this portal accommodate residents that might have limited internet access or even residents that have like a lower digital literacy? How are we going to be able to accommodate that? Sorry for the question, Val.
Through you, Mayor Kentner, to Councillor Forder, I think there's still going to be a lot of education that's going to have to take place. We still would be available by phone, like we would still have customer service, and if anybody cannot use our software through the online portals, we would still willingly and should be providing the service that they need.
Any other questions? You ready to vote on this? We've been a long time coming to this day, all of us, encouraging you and hoping that this would, finally come to fruition. So here's the vote, and I'm sure it's going to be unanimous. All in favor? Thank you. Item C, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the completion of a vesting order to merge PINs and formalize the municipal ownership of McCarroll Park. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Forder and seconded by Councillor Euring. Thank you. Discussion on this. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for some clarity, when you use the word vesting, it means you have a vested interest. You want ownership, and merging of pins is literally talking about the surveyor pins. Is that correct? Could I have a little bit of an explanation? Because when we looked at the report and we saw the map, it's like for a long time it was understood that this was ours and everybody floated in, out and around, but obviously legally not. So if we could have a little explanation on that. Thank you.
Through the chair, that's a great way to put it. I couldn't have put it better myself, I would say. We thought that it was ours, we found out that it isn't, and now we need to legalize it.
Councillor Forder?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. So with this, is there any kind of risk of ownership disputes or anything like that from descendants of the last registered owner?
Through the chair, in working with our legal representation, my understanding is that there wouldn't be, but I guess no one can ever say never. But I think it's fair to say that they didn't see any concern.
Any other comments, questions? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Now we move on to memos, and we have a report from our building inspector. And I do apologize. We've held up people in the back row of the gallery for a long time today, but it was started with a technical problem. And so do you want to give us a report on building, Mr. Toby?
Through you, Mr. Chair. It's a pretty straightforward report. From year to year, it looks that there was a significant drop off, but it was just that last year we issued 16 townhouses. And so that raised that number that month significantly higher than normal. This last month, or since the spring, we've had a bit of cold weather, so it's been a little slower. But we have a number of permits paid for that we expect that this year will be still a significantly high number of permits issued in value wise.
Any questions for Mr. Toby, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The last time you were with us, Mr. Toby, providing this report, you suggested that you were anticipating permits being pulled for Scott Ave and Bay Bounds, and I just wondered if you're still feeling positive this month that any of those projects will go forward this year.
I think the projects we have in are moving forward and are going to make some progress. So yes.
Okay, Councillor Forder?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I believe, I don't know if I gave a formal request, but I had said in a previous report that a geographic breakdown would be really helpful, so we know where all of this is happening within the municipality. I think the report itself is great, but being able to see a geographic breakdown would be extremely helpful. If that's something we can implement, I don't know I don't think any direction formally is needed, but I think that would be a really helpful tool. I also wanted to say, so with these, are we tracking sort of environmentally sustainable features in these new developments? So these are part of our, climate and sustainability goals. Something like that would also be really helpful to add to the report as well. So just a few comments, things that I think would be extremely helpful for us for informational purposes. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Normally at our year end or in this time, we could do it at our midterm. We can update that report to include more of a geographic component to it to kind of give you a layout where all the permits are done in the year. Cloud Permit doesn't have a problem doing it. We usually get it done through our GIS to do it to a little bit more of a, I would say, customer friendly layout. So that is something we can do. We don't have anything for sustainability through our process. That doesn't mean that we haven't done a lot to reduce the number of paper and provide more open service. But we don't have any markings about sustainability or anything like that in the permit process.
Any other questions for Bart? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see the numbers still up there. So updates now from County Council. First of all, I'll call on Deputy Mayor Keaveney for her report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. County Council did meet last Thursday, the 22nd of May. And that was the first week for the new Deputy CAO at Grey County, Niall Lobley, who came to us as the former CAO of Georgian Bluffs, and he was warmly welcomed. Warden Matrosovs had just returned from the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative Conference and Annual General Meeting, which was held in Milwaukee. And we were very pleased to hear that Andrea had been appointed to their 20-member board of directors. And we're familiar with this organization. The conference in 2026 will be held in Hamilton. So hopefully a representative from Meaford will be able to attend. Paul DeMello delivered a presentation. He's the legal counsel for the Thornberry Acres development. And this project is located at the juncture of Gray Roads 2 and 40 in the town of the Blue Mountains. I think we've talked about this project before. It's been a controversial one for quite some time. The concept, as a reminder, is a residential farm cooperative in the format of a condominium development. This is a 62-hectare parcel, which will contain 31 $3 to $4 million homes. And the concept is that these residents will farm the 9.8 hectares that is zoned special ag included in this parcel. So it's we're all concerned about the future of that farmland, but this has been through the Ontario Land Tribunal and has been through the county, and there just really isn't anything more that that we can do. So we hope that they will follow through and make sure that this land is well farmed. County Council appointed 5 councillors to the newly created Joint Municipal Services Committee. And the 5 members will be Councillor Ian Boddy, Councillor Terry McKay from Chatsworth, Councillor Grant Pringle from Georgian Bluffs, Councillor Warren Dickert from Hanover, and myself. This committee will consider opportunities for recommendations back to County Council for shared services. And we've been looking at planning, and that's a separate item from what this committee will discuss. But one thought that came to mind, which I believe it was Councillor Vickers at the time brought forward to this council, was the idea of a county-wide waste management service. So that may be one of the things that's discussed. Staff did provide overviews of Bill 5 and Bill 17. We talked about Bill 5 earlier in relation to a delegation request, but both are going to have significant impacts on development going forward. Bill 5 is the Unleashing Our Economy Act, and it's designed to amend certain acts, including the Ontario Heritage Act, the Ontario Energy Board Act, the Environmental Assessment Act, the Environmental Protection Act, and the Endangered Species Act. So if Bill 5 was passed at the legislature, it would create what they're calling special economic zones, where trusted components or designated projects would be exempt from provincial legislations and from municipal bylaws. So Bill 5 would also repeal the Endangered Species Act and replace it with the Species Conservation Act. So Bill 5 would also recognize Indigenous traditional knowledge as part of the criteria for identifying and evaluating species. So there's lots to be concerned about there. Bill 17 is the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, and it proposes to amend a number of acts, including the Building Code Act, the Development Charges Act, the Planning Act, and the Ministry of Infrastructure Act. Long-term care homes would be exempt from DCs, and DCs could be paid on residential development at the time of receiving the building permits or at occupancy. It would provide ability to limit required municipal studies and would remove the need for certain minor variances and would streamline approvals for schools. So we're looking forward to learning more about both of those as they make their way through the legislature. And that was all I documented, Mr. Mayor, unless you wish to add anything.
No, it was a very interesting meeting, and I just maybe add that Warden Matrosovs drew to our attention the fact that as members of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, we actually are part of an organization where the membership is made up of people on both sides of the border, and that's an important connection that puts us in a rather, I think, important place as far as our relationship to the United States is concerned. The fact that we have people that are office holders like ourselves and that we talk to them. And I think the same could be said too for our the situation of the Major General Richard Romer Meaford International Airport, which flies the American flag beside the Canadian flag. And I think it's, again, an opportunity where we have a connection to the states that not every Canadian does, and something that we should utilize, positively. So I just wanted to add that comment. The next item is a recommendation from the Pump Storage Advisory Committee. Is that going to be presented by Councillor Greenfield or by you, Deputy Mayor? If you would, I think that would be good. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yes, the next item is a motion that was moved forward to council from the Pump Storage Advisory Committee. And I'll read it through. And as I read the first paragraph, I just want to request an amendment of just a couple of words in that first paragraph that was missed when the motion came forward. So if that's okay with our deputy clerk, I'll mention that in the reading of the first paragraph. The recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford take steps to hire a third-party consulting firm to begin testing the waters of Georgian Bay, the inland and shore wells, and also to consider site drainage and the municipal water supply. And that the firm hired to perform the tests shall be arm's length from TCE with the capability to test for carcinogens, heavy metals and toxins, including but not limited to PFAS, dioxins, furan, etc., known or likely to exist at the 4th Canadian Training Centre. That the selected firm should demonstrate expertise in toxicology, ecological, and human health risk assessment and have staff designated as qualified persons. Risk assessment by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, and that the selected firm should undertake a review of existing data and reports that pertain to the delineation and characterization of contaminants in water, sediment, and soils within the areas affected by the proposed pump storage project and pertaining to water quality in general within Georgian Bay. The selected firm will then formulate a plan for monitoring the potential release of contaminants from the site and potential impacts of the pump storage project on water quality in wells and Georgian Bay. The plan will detail, among other things, the type of test necessary, including but not limited to all those listed above, the sampling locations, the media, water, sediment, soil, biota, frequency of testing, and criteria for evaluation. The testing should start immediately to characterize baseline conditions and to proceed through site clearing, construction, and operational phases. Testing results should be available for the public to access easily with no cost to the public, and that the test should meet provincial water quality objectives for the protection of aquatic life as well as drinking water standards. The test should start immediately and continue for the life of the pump storage project. The type of tests necessary, including all those listed above, the test sites and frequency of testing will be formulated by the consulting firm, and that the testing results should be available for the public to access easily and without cost. And that is the end of that motion. And I will move that, Mr. Mayor, if you would call for a seconder.
Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Forder? Discussion. Oh, sorry. Madam Clerk?
My apologies for interrupting. As there was an amendment, I realized that the amendment, as I understand it, was added after the motion was voted on at the Pump Storage Advisory Committee. So it would be an amendment of this council. So we've got the mover and a seconder for the main motion, but the section to consider site drainage is an amendment at this table. So if we could also have a mover and a seconder and a vote to just include that portion of it, that would be very helpful.
So could you explain the Deputy Mayor, the wording of and the intent of the amendment?
Yes, the intent of the amendment back to the first paragraph, Mr. Mayor, was just to add in site drainage, which was to be included with testing the waters of Georgian Bay, the inland and shore wells, and also to test site drainage was just the phrase that
Okay.
the committee wished to have added. So I will move that amendment.
And is there a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Forder, thank you. Now discussion of the actual motion.
And
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, just a few brief moments ago, you turned to fellow Councillor Greenfield and to the Deputy Mayor And you asked the question about who would like to bring this forward. With all due respect, all due respect, all of us on council serve on committees, and we, the elected officials, chair those committees. So your question, Mr. Mayor, for one of my two fellow councilors to bring this forward, to me, is a situation where, with this recommendation coming from the Pump Storage Advisory Committee, the chair who was here in audience earlier today has left the building. And to me, if that individual is the chair of something bringing forward a motion for consideration to council, I think that it should have been the chair. The other thing which I find to be of interest, should this move along at some point, the two members who do not have a vote at that are now going to be asked to do a vote. So I find that the structure of this is a little bit wanting in this councillor's view. I would any member of this council to be the chair and with vote and voice. And I find that just because of the political aspirations of trying not to, I don't know, leave someone out, or someone putting themselves in a position that they may be of a bias or something. I mean, my fellow councillor Porter and I were on the sustainability, and I listened to all the things as the chair. And in the future, at some point, I truly do hope I can bring something forward. So I'm the chair. I listened to all the things, and I've had comment during that. But today, with what's being proposed here, I have difficulty right from its onset of the structure and the composure. Now, I know that that time has come and it has passed, and yet today, this is a result. We're looking forward to something coming from the Pump Storage Advisory Committee, but I hope you gathered I have difficulty with the structure of it. And I truly would like to see a member of council chair, nothing, with all due respect to the chair that came before council today, took the podium, total respect for the individual and total respect for the responsibility that the individual has. But I think if I recalled, even on remarks from the current chair, there was a little, I think he said there, well, he definitely looked for guidance from both of the council members as he was trying to do meetings, because it is a big deal to run a meeting with the proper formats. So that's what I'm saying about the presentation and the bringing forward of this. I think that the structure that we have is somewhat a little bit different, to say the least, but at the same time, I think it just offers a little bit of confusion. And anyway, I hope just those remarks can spur some good conversation here. Thank you.
Well taken, I would say. Thank you. And yes, if you would like to respond, go ahead, and then
Mr. Mayor, yes, thank you. With your permission, I'd like to respond to Councillor Bell's comments. And a few things. The current chair, Mr. Haslam, who presented today, is doing an excellent job. He only relies on us to assist with, the movers, the seconders, those aspects of running a meeting. But yeah, he's doing a really superb job and takes it very, very seriously, to the extent of flying home from a vacation to be present at a meeting. So I have great respect for Mr. Haslam. I think the situation you describe results from the current terms of reference for this committee. And it was this council that determined that the two members appointed to this committee would be non-voting and would not be able to chair that committee. And that was determined in that very unique set of terms of reference, which thanks to our new CIO, Mr. Everett, he's agreed to have a look at those. And with the committee that was created, as Mr. Hamlet suggested, those those will be revisited. So what the outcome of that is, we don't know. But at this point in time, you know, I believe PSAC, as Growing Our Economy has done, is doing their job in discussing matters as a committee and bringing recommendations forward to this council. That is a big part of the purpose of the committee, is to have those discussions and to bring these requests back to us, because we're the decision-making body that now has to look at this recommendation from the committee, which neither Councillor Greenfield or I were able to vote on at the time, but it is here in front of us now, and asking for council to have discussion and to make a decision on this proposed motion, whether it's a go forward or not. So I'll look to the CAO to add anything to my comments, but the structure of this committee is unique. There's no question about that.
I think that, in fact, CAO Everett, I think it would be appropriate to hear from you now, because I know you have views on this motion, and I don't think we have any objection to the motion. It's just, is this the way that this testing should happen? And so I'm going to turn it over to you for your input on the whole matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess just to begin, this wouldn't be a budgeted item. The way the recommendation starts is that the Council of Municipality of Meaford takes steps to hire a third-party consulting firm. So right off the bat, I think if council wanted to go any further with this, we would have to actually create a budget, do a costing of what this would actually entail. I think one opportunity after noodling on this motion was, you know, this is the type of request, quite frankly, I think can be taken or provided directly to TC Energy to say, these are the concerns that have been raised. This is what the advisory committee is thinking, and look to TC Energy to provide a response of how this testing would be done. Is this something that they would be testing through the fulsome environmental assessment process they're going to be going through, and giving TC Energy the opportunity to provide comment on that. I think the other piece is the motion talks about the testing to be done at an arm's length of TC Energy. You know, going through environmental assessments, there's typically what's called a peer review, which studies are done and then somebody requests a peer review. So the work that the first consultant did gets reviewed by a second consultant, just to make sure the findings and the process and the protocol has been followed. So I believe going to TC Energy to say, is this work that will be done through your process? Which I will say, the process that hasn't started yet. Is this something that TC Energy would be willing to consider making, you know, mandatory, or even if the agencies didn't pick up on this, this is something that TC Energy, this is a concern from the community, this has been brought forward by the advisory committee. Is this a piece that we can confirm will be done, and look at those parameters? That one of the things that working with TC Energy that I've found to be very, very helpful is, you know, having this open dialogue with TC Energy about you know, going to TC Energy, making requests, so it's very clear. If we're looking for TC Energy to cut for cost recovery on items, that's the actual agreement requires the municipality to make that formal request to TC Energy prior to incurring any costs. That's something that over the last couple of weeks, I've paid very close attention to doing. That way, TC Energy has the ability to provide that approval before we incur costs, and then that way when invoices are provided, there's really no guesswork. They know what those are. So I would like to think that that relationship of open dialogue and communication, being given the opportunity to take this well thought out notice of motion to TC Energy and ask for them to provide a fulsome response, might be a good step. if council wished for us to proceed, I think what would be most appropriate is for staff to take this back to actually see what sort of a budget this type of work would require. And again, look at funding sources. If we were to take this on and it be a third at an arm's length, the way I read this, it's probably going to be the taxpayer that is going to pick up the tab on this type of project. So having that dialogue with TC Energy and seeing, are they actually going to be doing this? Even if they weren't supposed to, would they do it? Because in that way, cost recovery could be recouped there, maybe not on the taxpayer. I'm not saying it shouldn't be on the taxpayer. This is really important information to be garnered through this process. I just hate to see duplication of the work. One of the things that we're going to be asking TC Energy is very clearly, what is the laundry list of suggested or expected studies that have to be done? And give us the opportunity to provide those additional that we know what, from a municipality's perspective and local community, these are the ones that we want to have input on and make requests to have completed for our community's best interest. So hopefully it's a long-winded response, but I think I'm really impressed with the last couple of weeks being able to work with TC Energy and getting that open dialogue. I think I feel really comfortable that these are the types of questions, motions that should be put in front of TC Energy for some thoughtful responses.
So I'm going to go around the room and then I have a thought. Go ahead, Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Sean. I'm glad you brought that up. The first paragraph, yeah, the first thing I thought reading it was about really to jump right into hiring a third-party consulting company and just going. When you said about duplication, not only of potential future EA tests that are going to happen, but what occurred to me as being chair of the GSCA, of the Great Solid Conservation Authority, and also, I mean, just about duplication of effort that already might exist. So what made me think about this is, to me, first step was almost, and I don't think the intent is problematic at all. I think the intent is valid, and I think the intent is morally right. I just think that what we need to investigate is who are already doing what. Because I mean, we know for municipal water supply, we have provincial regulations that we have to meet. We know GSCA already does testing in the water sources that are the watershed. Where does the DND fall into this? Because it's with them, do they have any responsibility on this and to do some water testing and costing accordingly? SON has been doing some work out there prior to the TCE project. Do they have any testing that could be shared already that's already in place? Grey County Public Health, there are so many agencies that are already legislated, particularly because of Walkerton, that we may be able to draw on. And I would think first step would be garnering that information, determining what already exists, because we don't want to duplicate cost or put cost to duplicate effort, either future or present. So yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, but I just think there's a lot of steps have to be considered before we green light just hiring a third-party consulting firm and going.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. Two or three comments, if I may. First of all, thanks to our CAO for his comments on this. One thing I believe council has been expecting from not only the Pump Storage Committee, but all of our committees is for them to bring forward recommendations, motions to council, and that has started, those gates have started to open, although I think there's a lot of room yet for many more recommendations coming forward, and I think that will happen. As far as the testing of the municipal water supply, that's something that jumped out at me. Our municipal water supply is well tested and the recipient of very good results. And I didn't didn't really think that they needed it needed to be included in this list. I also think that we need some kind of a pricing on this. There is nothing in the 2025 budget that I'm aware of to do this kind of work. And reading through the recommendation, and yeah, it includes a lot of items, very pertinent ones, very important ones, but I can see a study of this amounting to a great amount of money. And I guess in my mind, that goes around in circles and ends up at TC Energy's door. I really think it would be of most benefit to TC to undertake these subjects, not the citizens of our community, not the taxpayers of our community. We are looking at a potential huge development. I understand there's a possibility for a 50-year contract for the company who does go ahead with this project, and that must be of great advantage to them. And I think the more studies, the more research, the more data, the more specifics they can lay on the table to our public, I think the more advantage it will be to all. So I really can't support local taxpayer dollars going to this study. First of all, as I said, I want to get some kind of an estimate. I expect the numbers will be huge, and regardless of the amount, I think this is something TC should be doing. Thank you.
Are you on the list here? Okay, I'll start with Councillor Bartley, then we'll come around this one.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. Actually, a couple of comments and a question. As far as Mr. Haslam, I've watched all the meetings and he's done a wonderful job. I'm impressed with him. Whether he be the chair or not, that doesn't concern me. Matter of two councillors sitting with no voting rights. Why are you there? I wouldn't want to be on a committee and spend that much time and not have a say in it. It's just my opinion. You can take it from there. Right off the bat, it doesn't say who's paying for this. I agree this should be done. But this is going to be a big bill, and this isn't a bill that's going to happen over 1 month. This is ongoing for the next 50 years. This is huge. And we haven't even asked TCE, are they going to pay for it? So that's where we got to go first. Are it taxpayers? It doesn't say in here. They're asking to put it on the tax base. Who's paying for it? I think we have to really look at this before we do anything with it. Should it be done? Yes. It has to. Somebody mentioned, well, TCE should do it. Well, this here is asking for an arm's length. So it's not TCE doing it, it's somebody else doing it with an arm's length report. So it's got to be looked at and a lot of questions answered before we implement this.
Councillor Bell, did you wish to speak? Are you? Okay. Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, Councillor Bartley, you took the words right out of my mouth. I agree. This testing absolutely needs to be done. I just don't know how we're going to be able to fund this through taxpayer dollars alone over the course of the next 50 years. I think the comments from CAO Everett are very valid, and we should take this conversation to TCE. But either way, however it happens, this testing is absolutely critical. And it is also considered best practice with large infrastructure projects, particularly where there is a highly likelihood of contaminated lands. So however we get there, we just need to get there. But again, like some of the comments around the table, I have a really hard time asking the taxpayers to fund this testing over the course of the next 50 years. That should be the responsibility of TCE. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And coming back to me, I just want to say that I agree. This is incredibly important and this work needs to be done. In my mind, this project should not be taxpayer money out of pocket. I think we should always be kept whole as a municipality in terms of any costs related to this. I think the concern from the committee is to make sure that whatever reports are completed by TCE, that they are trustworthy reports. And I think that's where our third-party reviewing comes in, and whatever that looks like in relation to this piece of work, we'll have to allow our CIO and TCE to have those conversations. But I think in my mind, the takeaway, as our CIO has suggested, is that he have that conversation with TCE and get an understanding of what efforts they intend to put into water testing, as well as Councillor Urick suggested, the other, our own water testing, the DND, the conservation, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence, all of those bodies who are involved in water testing, that we take all of that information as well, and that that be formulated into reports that come back to PSAC and to this council at no expense to us as a municipality of Meaford. So I think we leave it in the hands of our CIO.
So I think my question to you, Council, is our best idea to defer this, perhaps pending some consultation between our CAO and TC Energy? Or go ahead, did you have an idea for us? Chris?
Slightly, I would suggest quite entirely different to allow for that transfer of information. So I drafted something that if I could read that. As
Perfect.
a suggestion. Thank you. I won't start again. So my suggestion might be something along the lines of an amendment to the motion that Council of the Municipality of Meaford directs staff to share the Pumped Storage Advisory Committee resolution entitled Motion for Water Testing from April 10th, 2025 with TC Energy to provide comments back to the municipality in response for Council's consideration. So by taking that action to direct staff, we are formally then going to be providing that information. Those discussions can be had, and then with the suggestion that it would come back to council. So one option to go from here.
And I like that, you know, we are not critical in any way of the PSAC's resolution, and that we are in fact trying to further their interest in this. It's just that we're doing it with the due consideration of our you know, municipal ratepayers. So does someone wish to move that motion, Councillor Greenfield?
Move what our acting clerk has suggested as an amendment, and I agree. There are good, very good points in this, and I don't want to push them aside. I want them to stay in front of us, but I would move that.
You might be able to insert the word respectfully in there to the committee, but I think that is our desire. So is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Bell, thank you very much. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before you call a vote on this, and I think we'll get the support for this, I want to thank you, Deputy Mayor Keaveney, for reminding me on my opening remarks. I am part of this council that did that format for what we were doing, and you reminded me in a very nice way that we directed how that was to be formulated, and that is why it is the way it is. In your comments, though, you did mention that CAO Everett might be working on new terms of reference and composition. Am I taking it farther by saying that, or would the CAO Everett wish to make comment on that? Because to me, and I even hearing my fellow councillor Bartley, I think that endeavor that may be happening, I think that's worthy.
You see, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bell. Yes, so at the last meeting, there was a working group that was created to look at a review of the draft terms of, or review of the terms of reference. I have provided the working group with a draft revised that talks about composition mandate. It's a pretty lengthy review. And as you know, that council is the approver of that terms of reference. So we're hoping that that gets back in front of council as soon as possible for council's consideration if there are any changes that are to be made. So that's a process that is currently underway.
Do you need to hear the motion again, or are you, I think everybody knows what that motion is, its purpose and what it is saying. So I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
So I'm sorry, just procedurally. So now we've replaced the main motion. We'll have to take a final vote. The amendment was approved. Now we need to just take one more vote to make sure that the main motion passes. So that's been replaced.
Okay, question, Councillor Yuri.
I'm just gonna ask a clarification there because that's a recommendation, not a motion. When we were doing through growing our economy, with the same thing, we made recommendations on the auspice that it wasn't an actual motion. It's a recommendation to consideration for a motion. So to your point, is what this recommendation wasn't really a motion, was it? It's a recommendation for consideration.
It says to take steps. You know,
My apologies. I'm not quite sure that I understand. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of it maybe differently. The motion to me is a motion before it becomes a resolution. So at this point, we're initially taking the motion and we're replacing the words of that motion with the amendment. Now that that's done, the motion that's on the floor is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford directs staff to share the resolution from the Pump Storage Advisory Committee with the TC Energy as that main motion read, and I can read it in its entirety. So now the vote becomes on that direction. Does that answer the question or not at all at this point? We are in full council, so the direction can be provided to staff at this time.
I understood your amendment. Your amendment read to me more like the actual motion. This was a recommendation. And I'm just going back to what we're expecting from the advisory committees, our recommendations. I'm not reading those as actual motions. Because I know when we did it for growing our economy, that ended up showing up at the next meeting as an actual motion. This wasn't actually a motion. What you said is a motion, it didn't even strike me as being an amendment. This was that motion kind of rose out of this recommendation. And again, I could be parsing various slight jargon here, but that struck me as it frightens me that we're getting into recommendation from these as being read as motions.
So I through your worship, sorry, my apologies. I think we have some work to do on how we want this flow through into Councillor Bell's comments as well. Typically in the past, we haven't had this structure of motions, recommendations, resolutions coming out of advisory committees. And so we haven't probably dealt with this. I think we're trying to have some internal discussions about how to flow through this information, especially in a timely manner so that these motions, resolutions from the advisory committees aren't lost through the process and delayed in a significant way. So I think in this instance, I would suggest that we've dealt with it the way that we had discussed, but I might be misunderstanding the issue in this. I think from my perspective, we've taken a direction that the advisory committee had discussed. It was a proposed motion requesting staff to consider the item and requesting council consider the item. So staff moved that motion from once approved in the minutes to the council agenda at the next available meeting. And from there, council could then consider that direction that was requested from the advisory committee to be considered. I think, as I say, we really haven't dealt with that type of flow. In the past, we've had recommendations come forward to council with some staff input as a covering report. I can think of the Heritage Register as probably the only other one similar to this that we've had a recommendation from a committee that comes to council, which is why I say I think we haven't really dealt with this mechanism that much or if at all before. So we're looking to improve the process, but I think from this perspective, should council want to take action for this particular issue or motion from the advisory committee, my suggestion would be to have this motion that has been discussed and that's now on the floor as an amendment to move forward and with some communication back, I would imagine, to the advisory committee on the action that was taken at the council table for next steps through that. So I don't know if that's too much of an explanation or completely off base, but I'm very open to talking with council members and internally with staff about how we're going to clean some of this up and make it a little bit more fluid, because I think the process is a new one and we need to figure out some definition on how we move all of this forward.
Councillor Bartley wanted to speak. to
Thank you,
this.
Mayor Kettner. I'm just trying to do the Coles version of this. The way I see it is we're not motioning to do this, implement it. We're motioning to have staff go back, get us some of the answers that we've asked and to talk to CE. That's the motion I was voting for.
And I agree 100%. That's to me. So this wasn't a motion. What we've done is the motion. So I don't see why you need to amend this, because we made a motion about what to do with the recommendation. The one word you used in there that scared me was when you said that the advisory committees were directing staff. Advisory committees cannot direct. They cannot direct. You actually you said you used the verbiage to direct the advisory committee to direct either council or. And they can't do that either. All they can do is make recommendations. Hence, this is not a motion. Right.
Through the mayor, my apologies if I said that. My intention is to say that advisory committees can make recommendations to council. They can, and so I think the way that we added this on from the meeting was we took the motion that they had, which was that the committee recommends to council to consider this. So then council's now considering it. So that was the flow through from the advisory committee through to council. The reason for the procedural amendment, we're essentially replacing the entire verbiage that they provided with council's next steps in that direction. So that's why a second vote needs to be taken, because we've scrapped the wording that was there initially, very respectfully, scrapped the wording, and now we're replacing it with a new direction. And then that process will begin with a final vote.
At the end of the day, I trust you, Margaret.
Well, thank you.
I know procedurally you're solid. I'm just making sure that for the advisory committees moving forward, we just have to make sure that, you know, church and state are in place and how that divide works.
Sure. And if I may offer, Mayor Kettner, I think in every activity that the advisory committee does, there's no direct direction to staff and there's no direct direction to council. It really is a recommendation on all of those fronts for next steps. And I think we've been consistent with that, but there is an opportunity to refine that process going forward.
So we need one more vote.
My apologies, but yes.
Does everybody understand what we're voting on? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Okay, thank you. Did we have a ensuring sustainability advisory committee meeting in the interim? So Councillor Bell, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we had a meeting on the 14th, but I have absolutely nothing to report on that as we didn't have quorum. And to that point, I have had conversation with CAO Everett, and I think it would be appropriate that he'll work through this, that we should advertise. We've always had quorum, and my fellow co-chair knows that we've had fairly consistent members who have come out, but all it took this time was for one of them not to be there. So we're running light, we're thin. So anyway, I have nothing to report on it, as we could not forward the business of the municipality.
Okay, thank you. What about the Growing Our Economy Advisory Committee? Councillor Urick?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the Growing Our Economy Committee did meet on May 21st. And the committee heard a presentation by Ministry of Rural Affairs, Economic and Business Advisor Crystal Ellis on the value of conducting a business retention and expansion program. Ms. Ellis also provided valuable procedures and timelines to implement a successful BRNE and offered to assist municipal staff in making this a reality. She stated that 60 to 80% of new jobs come from existing businesses and stressed that initiatives like a business directory and a business mix and location analysis are vital to establishing a positive relationship with the local business community. This was followed by a fulsome discussion on the importance of starting the BRNE, updating the economic development strategic plan, and planning a community visioning exercise. The committee also wished to stress that it is crucial that ECDEV initiatives include investigating and developing shovel-ready development lands and long-term investment strategies. The committee and Ms. Ellis agreed that these were all essential components in establishing a comprehensive ECDEV map for the municipality. The committee received an update from the deputy mayor on the council BIA consideration motion, which dovetailed with a presentation from the Meaford Chamber of Council President, Chamber of Commerce President, J.D. Moffat, regarding their new direction. The committee applauded their enthusiasm and commented that a revitalized chamber working with a new energized BIA could partner with the municipality to forge a new path of business growth and support in our community. And finally, there was also discussion about the importance of tourism. While this needs to be confirmed through a community visioning exercise, the committee agreed that the municipality should prioritize tourism as an economic driver for the municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Was there any other committees? Let's go ahead, Councillor Porter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep this brief. Last Wednesday, we had a library board meeting, and the highlight from that was the Meaford Public Library Emergency Evacuation Plan and Procedures. This is a pretty comprehensive document explaining what the staff are to do in all sorts of different emergency situations. My appreciation to staff for putting together something so comprehensive. And they've actually had to use a few of these, not for anything major, but of course, that toolkit is extremely helpful. A little bit of discussion among the board, and we did add a few things like what to do in the event of a cybersecurity attack and things like that. So that's looking really robust. Other than that, it was pretty simple, straightforward meeting. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, June 18th. And of course, if Councillor Greenfield has anything he would like to add, please feel free. That's all for me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any other boards or committees? Deputy Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. We did have ITFD, and I don't know whether Councillor Bartley might like to speak to ITFD last week. No, it was a 16 or 17-minute meeting. And just looking at the audit for 2024. So, but I think going forward, perhaps we should speak to those ITFD meetings in this section. Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to move out of committee of the whole. Councillor Porter and Councillor Urick, thank you. Now, is there any notice of motions? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, I will bring a notice of motion, and this will be in regards to our earlier conversation about the downtown core. And I'm looking to ask staff to create a report that would reevaluate the level of service. As was mentioned, we were going to have one application of weed spray, and just to look at whether that's enough for what we might need to do from there.
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Greenfield?
Just through you to Ms. Wilton Seagal, concerning the speed limit signs in Bogner, does staff have enough direction to move forward with investigating that situation, or do we need a notice of motion to work with the county to put?
Through your worship, I am getting a nod from our Director of Operations, so I believe that work is underway in this area, so a notice of motion wouldn't be required at this time. Thank you.
Then we're moving on to adoption of minutes. Recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford hereby adopt the minutes of the council meetings held on May 7 and May 12, 2025, and the closed meeting held on May 7, 2025. Mover or seconder? Councillor Urick and Deputy Mayor, thank you. All in favor? It looks, yes. Anything from the communications agenda? Councillor Porter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I do have, it's the appropriate time to bring out something for a correspondence list, is that okay? Because that's under communications, it's at the bottom, though, I just don't
Yeah,
know if that would be appropriate.
I think so.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay. I'd like to bring up item number 6 from the correspondence list. Is the town of Orangeville responsible growth in opposition to elements of Bill 5. So I'd just like to say, as a counselor from Meaford, I am deeply concerned about certain provisions in this bill's plan to repeal the Endangered Species Act and replace science-based projections with ministerial discretion. This threatens sensitive habitats and weakens our ability to make informed planning decisions. So far, there's over 100 organizations and several municipalities opposing provisions in this bill. And today I'm seeking council support to stand up for local authority and evidence-based policy by echoing the sentiments from the town of Orangeville. Thank you.
Do we need a second to hear right on, seconder, Councillor Urick? Any discussion on this? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and only to say that I appreciate Councillor Ford bringing that forward because that's exactly where my mind was as we talked about a deputation. So I hope you'll be going to AMO and we'll be able to be part of that discussion there with, should we be successful. Thank you.
All in favor of this motion? Thank you. That's, I want to say 6 to 1. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull B from communications.
Oh, okay.
And do you wish me to go
Yes,
ahead?
please do.
Thank you. This is a letter from Travis and Associates, and you will have all read it, but the request is that in terms of the Loon Call project, they're requesting permission for 24 more units of allocation to move forward. And if we were agreed to this, that would take them to the number of units that they are allowed to construct before the requirement with MTO kicks in, that they have to get that access coming in from the highway. And as it states in the letter, services have already been installed for 17 of these units, with the exception of adding the laterals to finish the completion of that work. So the services only need to be extended another 30 meters to facilitate the full 24 units. So for council's consideration, I would ask that we direct staff to work with Loon Call to develop an allocation agreement with criteria based on the provision of attainable housing. And as we know, that is exactly what is being built on that property very successfully. Those units appear to be selling as fast as they can get them built, and we see all kinds of vehicles in there. People are moving in, and that's exactly the kind of housing that we need and we want to go forward. So that is my request of council, that we request staff to work with Loon Call to achieve that final 24 units of allocation.
The seconder for her motion. Councillor Urick. Any discussion? All in favor? And again, that's a unanimous decision. Thank you for bringing that forward. Anything else on the communications agenda? So I think we've got a confirming bylaw here. The recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2025-31, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Municipality of Meaford at its regular and special meetings held in the month of May 2025, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Mover and a seconder. Yes, I guess you're the seconder, I think. Thank you. So moved. Okay, I maybe better get a seconder for it then, I think. Okay, thank you. And all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And with that, I think we are at the end of our agenda. And if there's nothing else, I'll declare the meeting adjourned.